Throughout this devastating crash, first responders from all across the region have been helping in the recovery and rescue efforts.
We are joined over the phone now by Daniel Nevereth, the Commissioner of the Erie County Department of Emergency Services. Dan, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, I'm glad I can help under these circumstances.
Yeah. So we know that a lot of these patients were sent here to Erie County. I do want to ask you, though, about Genesee County and how they handled this situation. We talked to Mercy Flight earlier on the phone. They said they actually gave praise to the Genesee County Emergency Services Director there. Can you walk us through, if something like this happens, how do people kind of get in line, per se? Like, who do all of these first responders go to?
Well, despite the appearance of chaos, there actually is organization, there's planning, there's exercises, there's drills. It's ongoing. So in the case of Genesee County, we work very closely with them. They work very closely with us, as is the case with all the contiguous counties. So it's a constant dialogue. And a lot of the things that make an operation like this successful are not flashy things like equipment. They're more that personal touch, that interpersonal communication, everyone being on the same page, whether it's Genesee County, the New York State Police, the Sheriff's Office, Erie County, Monroe County, Genesee County. It's a matter of everybody on a regular basis getting together, talking about things, either notionalizing them or, unfortunately, in this particular case, actually having a real accident incident that you have to go through. So, obviously, kudos to everybody in Genesee County, but this operation was absolutely immense with regards to the number of resources that were required, the personnel that were required, and unless there's coordination of that, things don't go as well as they have so far. Despite the loss of life, there will be a lot of positives from this and a lot of lives that were saved.
Dan, you've been on a number of these scenes. You have been the leader of a number of these mass scenes, these big scenes like these. What are the most concerning things for a person in your position at the top of the sort of pyramid in terms of operations of a scene like this, when you're talking about a highway and thousands of cars and dozens of people who are involved? What are you most concerned about in terms of that response to save as much life as possible?
Dave, I would say the same as any call we go to, whether it happens to be a person's house for a cardiac arrest or, in this case, a mass casualty event. It's always life safety is your primary issue, incident stabilization. So the first thing you're looking at is trying to get your arms around it, trying to make sure that there's no additional threat to anyone that's responding to this, including your own first responders, and then getting the help, the immediate help where it's needed the most. So in a case like this, it's a very difficult scenario, but you have to triage and you have to address those that are the most critically injured first, get them transported, and something along the lines of possibly a limb that maybe is broken or somebody that maybe has some type of lacerations. You want to stop the bleeding, but there are priorities. So it's the most critical of patients, and then you work your way through that. So the triage, making sure it's organized. In this particular case, because this transcended Genesee County, it's the coordination of where those individual patients are going. Because lessons and failures of the past have been, as patients are being transported, if they're not accounted for, it makes it very, very difficult for family members to locate them. So, there is a lot of detail that goes into this, but also a lot of that minute tracking, just to make sure that if I'm going to a particular hospital in Erie County and maybe a family member is going somewhere else, that we know exactly where they're going. It not only helps with the recovery of the individuals, getting that reunification going, but it also assists with the investigation and the overall coordination of the number of patients in total.
All right. And when were you notified of this afternoon, and how did you get involved really quickly, Dan, this afternoon?
So the activation of the mutual aid plan is fairly rapid, but because of the location, you get a report of an accident. It really is in the middle of nowhere, so you have to get first responders there to address it. In fact, that the information they're getting from passersby is accurate, and then you respond accordingly. So in this particular case, to go from 0 to 70 was fairly quick. The Erie County units that arrived on location and assisted with the coordination with Genesee County, there obviously were delays, traffic backs up. So we were notified almost immediately, but that rapid response by Genesee County, there were actually first patients being transported via airlift when the Erie County units were getting on location. So it was a very rapid response. And as you mentioned at the top of this interview here, you know, closing down a main artery that essentially runs from New York City to the West Coast is a very, very detailed task. Those people have to go somewhere, coordinating that through all of the individual communities. So there are a lot of moving parts.
All right, Daniel Never, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.